been alive, they've wanted to stay alive. And for centuries, explorers have searched for the fountain of youth. And today, scientists are hard at work researching technology that can extend the human lifespan, stop or reverse aging, and even preserve a terminally ill person indefinitely until a cure for their disease is discovered. But what if, instead of preserving our bodies, we could preserve our consciousness by uploading it to a powerful computer? This is called mind uploading. And one startup has developed a procedure to do exactly this. It's scientifically sound, there's a waiting list to participate, and the procedure is 100% fatal. Let's find out why. There is no limit to human desire. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, there is a limit to our lifespan. But what if we could upload our memories, experiences, or entire consciousness to the cloud? This would be a sort of digital immortality, and it might not be as far-fetched as you think. Famous futurist Ray Kurzweil believes we'll be able to upload our entire minds to computers by 2045, and by the end of the century, our entire bodies will be replaced by machines. Now, this might be a bit optimistic, but it really is just a matter of time. But there are a few issues we need to solve first. The concept of uploading an entire human brain is called whole brain emulation. And there are three main areas of technology that make this possible: scanning, processing power, and environment. Let's start with brain scanning. The complete map of the brain is called the connectome, and mapping this is the holy grail. And so far, we've only been able to map the complete connectome of one creature, the nematode. And the nematode brain has about 300 neurons.
That doesn't sound so odd.
Well, the human brain has over 80 billion neurons.
Oh.
Right.
And I guess a hecklefish brain has even more neurons than that.
Well, and our 80 billion neurons are connected by about 100 trillion synapses. Then you have neurotransmitters, proteins, hormones, and all kinds of electrochemical processes to replicate. Now, all of this needs to be mapped and understood before we can even consider uploading. Now, our current imaging technology just isn't good enough to map this out. There are methods that are better, like cutting the brain into millions of slices and then using an electron microscope to scan all the cells and synapses, but this technique is destructive. We know that it works, though, because this was done with mice. In 2019, a cubic millimeter of a mouse brain was successfully mapped using this technique. Now, a cubic millimeter is only the size of a grain of sand, but this piece of brain contained 100,000 neurons and over 1 billion synapses. But this brings us to the second problem with mind uploading: processing power and storage space. When that tiny piece of mouse brain tissue was imaged, it used about 2 petabytes of data storage. That's 2 million gigabytes. Now, okay, fine, that's doable, but for an entire human brain, we'd need 2 million petabytes or 2,000 exabytes. That's a lot of storage. For comparison, all of Google's storage, all of it, is estimated to be about 15 exabytes. So a human brain would need over 100 times what Google has.
That's a lot.
It is. And let's say you cut a deal with Google to give you 2,000 exabytes of storage. What would they bill you for this? Well, Google says its biggest corporate clients pay a little over $5 million per month per exabyte. So the cost to store a human brain? $10 billion per month per brain.
Hey, can I borrow your Amex?
Here's a little more perspective on 2,000 exabytes, also known as 2 zettabytes. If you had a nickel for every byte and stacked them up, the pile would reach to the nearest star to the Earth, Alpha Centauri.
That's far.
And back.
Whoa!
100 times.
Whoa, wait, what?
Yep. The stack of coins would be 2,500 light years tall.
I can't comprehend.
I know, but you get the point. A human brain
The hecklefish brain.
is a ton of data. And that's just storage. To actually process this data would take more computing power that's available on the entire planet. But Moore's law states that computing power doubles every 18 months. Now, this is slowing down a little bit, but it's pretty much held true for years. So this means that even though we can't do it now, at some point in the future, we will be able to store this data and process it. And that's why MIT graduate Robert McIntyre founded Nectome, a company that claims to be able to back up your brain. And for a fee, you can put yourself on their waiting list to have your brain imaged and stored in the cloud. The only catch is, you need to die first.
No such thing as a free lunch.
Nope.
Procrastination isn't your fault. It's a broke mentality fueled by self.
Brain storage is not a new concept. The Alcor Life Extension Foundation has more than 150 bodies and severed heads stored in liquid nitrogen. But there's some dispute as to whether liquid nitrogen damages brain tissue. So a few years ago, Robert McIntyre, while working with a cryobiologist, came up with a different approach. Their technique combines typical cryonics with embalming to preserve the brain structure. Nectome developed aldehyde-stabilized cryopreservation, or ASC. And Nectome says their technology can preserve a detailed brain ultrastructure over long timescales. We're talking hundreds or even thousands of years. And their technique has proved effective at preserving an entire brain at nanometer level, including the entire connectome. So all cells, synapses, fibers, proteins, molecules, all of it. And there's no expectation of reviving the preserved tissue like with Alcor Life's cryonics. Instead, the idea is to retrieve the information that's stored on the brain anatomy. Now, Ken Hayworth, a neuroscientist and president of the Brain Preservation Foundation, said, if the brain is dead, it's like the computer is off, but that doesn't mean the information isn't there. That's really interesting. Will you sign up for it? Well, if you put down a $10,000 deposit, you can get on the waiting list. But there's a bit of a catch. You need to still be alive at the beginning of the procedure. And at the end of the procedure, you won't be. And that's okay. Your body's gone, but your consciousness lives on. But when you wake up, what's that like? Uploading your mind gives you functional immortality. It means that you continue to exist until your mind's digital copy is deleted or destroyed.
Yeah, you better hope your brain doesn't run on Windows 10.
Well, that's a pretty good point. What happens if your digital mind becomes corrupted, hacked, or infected with malware? That experience might leave you with feelings of pain, paranoia, and psychosis that could last forever. But let's assume everything goes according to plan. What does your digital consciousness do? Where does it go? Well, one option is to have yourself downloaded into a physical body. And that could be organic or cybernetic, but probably would be something completely mechanical.
You become a robot?
Well, sort of. A robot is defined as a mechanism designed with human-like features or to mimic human behavior. You would be more than that. You would be a conscious, sentient being inhabiting a mechanical form. Now, assuming the technology is there, you would be able to taste ice cream, smell flowers, have sex, fall in love, all like humans do. But you'd be able to do these things forever. Another option for your digital afterlife is to inhabit a simulation. By inserting your consciousness into an elaborate program, you'd be able to create and live in any type of world you can imagine, kind of like a god. You'd be able to walk with dinosaurs or visit other planets. You could explore outer reaches of the galaxy or investigate molecules in inner space. By adjusting your programming, you could delete painful memories and relive positive experiences in an infinite number of ways. You could create a perfect utopia. And if you don't like something in your simulation, change it. And after hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years, you may have seen and experienced everything you could possibly imagine. And at that time, you might choose to finally rest and turn off your program altogether. But would you? When we get to the point where our minds could be converted into a conscious, sentient program, we'll have security in knowing that if we become injured or ill, that we can continue to exist in digital form. But would we still be human? Now, I don't know, that's a question for philosophers. But I do know that because our time here is so short, that creates urgency to experience all we can while we can. That's why there's the concept of a bucket list. The urgency makes us human. If we could live forever and experience literally everything, what happens after that? What purpose would we serve? And what's our reason for even existing? And after a while, would we even want to? Now, digital immortality isn't happening anytime soon, so go out and enjoy actual life while you can. And a simulation without risk will never be as exciting or as fun as the real thing anyway. We just have to accept that we're not meant to live forever, and that's okay. But it'd be nice to have the option. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is AJ, that's Hecklefish. This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do me a favor and like, subscribe, comment, and share. The YouTube algorithm is like an evil, sentient digital consciousness bent on our destruction, but with your help, we can defeat it. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and know that you are appreciated.
Why is Amazon paying me $600 a day? Because I use Amazon AI. I'm gonna show you a way to potentially make money by pairing Amazon with the power of AI without ever selling physical products. And I promise you've never heard about this before. I just created some simple digital products, then I put them up on Amazon, and it was
This map is wrong. So is this one. And believe it or not, this one is too. Confused? Well, I hope you're not easily spooked, because today I'm going to explain why the maps you put all your faith in can't actually be trusted.
Mercator rejection. To start with, let's take a look at the classic world map we all know and love. Ah, there's our world, ain't she a beaut? There's only one problem though. This isn't what the world looks like. You heard me right. What you're currently looking at here is completely wrong. This map, known as the Mercator projection, is perhaps the most common map in the world and was originally designed by Flemish cartographer Gerardus Mercator in 1569. While our modern version has obviously been updated since the original, the general shape and design is still very similar. There's only one problem though, and it's a biggie: the shape. You see, maps like this represent our world, which is a three-dimensional globe on a two-dimensional plane. This means the land masses are inflated horizontally towards the North and South Pole and vertically close to the equator. So land masses on a flat map don't accurately reflect their real size. In fact, it's difficult to accurately do so at all. A great example of this is Greenland. For hundreds of years, Greenland has loomed over the rest of the world like a giant frozen bully. On the Mercator projection, it's big enough to consume the entirety of South America while still having room for a little United Kingdom snack. In reality, however, South America is around 6.87 million square miles, while Greenland is only around 836,000, making South America over 8 times bigger. Here are the two side by side, and as you can see, the difference is striking. Greenland is absolutely tiny. So if the Mercator projection is so inaccurate, why do we still use it? Well, for starters, it's useful for navigation. In fact, that's what it was first created for. Despite not showing landmass accurately, it does represent distance and angles well. A straight line from Florida to Argentina, for example, will accurately depict the curved path you'd actually take. So old Gerardus was pretty good in that regard. Some of his other maps, like this one depicting the North Pole, are less accurate. But look, this ain't what he's known for. He's known for his world map. The problem with translating a three-dimensional globe to a two-dimensional plane, though, doesn't have a solution. There are creative alternatives, but they all have their own drawbacks. This is the Gauss-Peter projection, and it can be a little jarring at first. It focuses on presenting the area of different landmasses accurately. Greenland is appropriately tiny, as you can see. However, it can only accomplish this by stretching and distorting their shapes. Look at how slim South America is. Looks like someone's been dieting. Then there's this fun one, the Dymaxion projection.
Before you panic, this doesn't show giant holes carved into the world's ocean.
Yo, Short King, put your axe into it.
Hey, did you?
New Axe Fine Fragrances. Available at Walmart. Put your axe into it.
Check out this screenshot of my credit score. Just a few months ago, it was in the low 500s. That all changed.
The idea behind this map is that all these individual jagged pieces fold together. Here's how they look converging and back. While this allows the Dymaxion map to represent size and shape well, it's not great representation of distance. I mean, looking at this thing, can you tell how far apart all the continents are at a glance? It's fine if you fold it up, but at that point, why not just look at a globe? Okay, one more. This one is the Miller projection, created by Osborne Maitland Miller in 1942. Rather than an entirely new projection, it uses Mercator as a basis and simply tries to tweak some things. Land masses are closer to an accurate representation of their size and shape, though land north of the equator is still a bit bigger than it should be. So next time you try and point out a country on a map, remember that in reality your finger might be off by a few hundred miles.
Of course, we all have holes in our geography knowledge.
And speaking of, have you ever wondered what the capital of Turkey is? Spoiler alert, it ain't Istanbul. And how about the Great Wall of China? Sure, it's in China, but could you point it out on a map? Well, now you can. Bartholomew has traveled all around this great big world of ours with the help of a cartographer and created the Be Amazed World Map, fully illustrated with famous landmarks, animals, and climate zones. I know I just told you all maps are wrong, but we went with the Miller projection. It's got all the familiarity that you want from a world map, but with much more accurate proportions. It's the best of both worlds. So why not explore the world with Bartholomew? The Be Amazed World Map is available for purchase on our official store, and we also created some fun stickers of Bartholomew's World Expedition. The link is in the description, or you can scan the QR code on screen. Now let's get back to some less amazing maps. Size and everything. If you think Greenland was the worst offender on the Mercator projection, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is Africa, and if the Mercator projection is to be believed, it's pretty big. A little bigger than South America, but snugly fitting within Eurasia. Well, Africa might be the most shafted continent on the map because the Mercator projection does not do it justice. Here's how the USA compares to the continent in the Mercator projection. Africa is bigger, sure, but the USA seems to span a good stretch of it. Well, here's how the USA compares to Africa accurately. Whoa, Africa could wear the US like a backpack. The United States of America measures in at a little over 3.61 million square miles, which is pretty large for a single country. In fact, that makes it the fourth largest country by area after Russia, China, and Canada. Africa, however, measures in at a whopping 11.7 million miles, including islands like Madagascar. That's over 3 times the size of the USA. Let's go ahead and throw the third largest country, Canada, into the mix as well. This is what the entirety of North America looks like compared to Africa. It definitely stacks up better and is a little harder to eyeball due to all of Canada's islands and wispy peninsulas. Africa is still bigger, however, as all of North America only measures in at 9,540,000 square miles. In fact, within Africa's mighty borders, you can comfortably fit China, the USA, India, Spain, France, Germany, heck, throw in all of Eastern Europe, there's room. Even the largest country, Russia, still only has a total area of 6.6 million square miles, a bit over half of Africa's landmass. Man, after this info dump, I think I'm going to start seeing the globe like this. Are any other countries that distorted? Is the UK actually the size of the USA? Oh, the Brits would love that. Thankfully, it's not the case. Britain is actually about 40% smaller than it appears on the Mercator projection. See, the northern and southern extremities of the map are stretched, so the further from the equator a landmass is, the more it's distorted. Africa straddling the equator is left relatively unaltered. In the opposite extreme, however, we have Antarctica. Looking at the Mercator projection, the continent appears absolutely enormous, like a huge wall of ice that takes up the bottom third of the globe. In actuality, Antarctica only appears this way due to its position at the very bottom of the map. Here's how the continent would look if it were in the Pacific Ocean. Whoa! Still big, but hardly the behemoth that appears on the Mercator projection. The icy continent measures in at 5.5 million square miles, and as you can see, that makes it much smaller than North America's 9.5 million square miles or South America's 6.87 million square miles. If you're curious, here are the continents in order of size. And here's how they'd be ordered if we all just grew up and accepted that Eurasia is a single continent. Come on, guys. We all know we should.
Here.
I'm so good at this game at this point.
The Kiwi Conspiracy. So you think you're a geography whiz, do you? Well, pop quiz. Take a look at this map and see if you can spot what's wrong with it. Go ahead, I'll wait. Time's up. The truth is that this map is missing something. It's lacking a little Middle-earth magic. That's right, this commercially available map is completely missing the nation of New Zealand. How is that possible, though? While the island nation is fairly small and out of the way, it still boasts a population greater than Ireland and a landmass larger than the United Kingdom. And I've never seen a map forget any of the British Isles. Oh well, maybe it's just a fluke. Nope. Here's a Western Kentucky University forgetting New Zealand, Amazon forgetting New Zealand, Pyongyang Airport forgetting New Zealand, The Simpsons forgetting New Zealand, Domino's Pizza forgetting New Zealand, Risk Legacy forgetting New Zealand, and in case it couldn't get any worse, the New Zealand government's own website forgetting New Zealand. Sometimes even when New Zealand is included in maps, it's mislabeled, like here when Russia Today mistook the country for Japan. Brilliant. Look, I know they're both island nations, but come on, man. They're nearly 6,000 miles apart. In 2019, IKEA had to publicly apologize and recall an entire line of maps that excluded New Zealand, and if you think those are all the examples I could find, you're mistaken. There's an entire subreddit dedicated on cataloging maps that forget the poor country. So what gives? Is there a cartographer conspiracy theory that New Zealand doesn't exist? These days, I should be careful making jokes like that, or I might will them into existence. The current leading theory is good old-fashioned laziness, sprinkled with a touch of ignorance. Most maps use the Mercator projection, which is a map projection that puts Europe in the center. This leaves New Zealand towards the bottom right, meaning one could easily forget the island when cropping, copying, or pasting an image. That sounds reasonable, kinda. But it doesn't explain why so many maps also forget Madagascar. Come on, guys, this African island is over twice the size of the UK, is more populous than Greece and Sweden combined, and is a stone's throw away from Mozambique. Even I remember to include Madagascar when I was talking about Africa's size earlier. How can we keep forgetting island nations from maps? Is this the world you want to live in? Center of the world. Have you ever been accused of thinking you were the center of the world? I mean, show me another YouTuber who doesn't think the world revolves around them. If we wanted to pin down the actual center of the world, though, we'd need to break out our old friend, the Mercator projection. While it's hard to pin down perfectly, for my money, the country that's most central in the Mercator projection is about here, the Democratic Republic of Congo. This isn't necessarily because map makers are Congolese supremacists, but because it fairly evenly aligns the continents into two regions, with the Americas on the left and Africa, Eurasia, and Oceania on the right. However, this alignment of landmasses is also totally arbitrary. Remember that our Earth is a globe, meaning you can easily swivel the center of focus around without any loss in accuracy. For example, here's what the world map would look like if we decided to position the Americas to the east and the rest of the world to the west. Kinda like looking into Bizarro World, but in reality, this is our world. We just don't think of it this way. As another example, here's a Chinese world map that places a great focus on Asia. If you ask me though, maps like this look more like they're making Australia the center of attention. Crikey. Here's another by Reddit user Paradoxical Cabbage placing New Zealand in the center. Well, the Kiwis needed a win. If you want to play around with recentering the world map, there's a fun tool called Country-Centered Map Projections on engaging-data.com that lets you do just that. Here's a map centered on Greenland, and hey, look at that. I was right, clicking on the Congo does more or less get you the default world map. If you've ever been tried for international war crimes, you may also be familiar with this projection of the world map, known as a polar azimuthal equidistant projection. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? This projection is the basis for the emblem of the United Nations, as it doesn't clearly prioritize any individual nation or continent. There are even wackier examples too. This is the South Up map, which places the south of the world up towards the top of the map. Weird, but it makes the very interesting point that we think of our three-dimensional world in a very two-dimensional way. After all, from space you could easily be looking at the world from an angle like this. I hope when aliens finally do arrive, they give their approach some thought. I'd hate for their first impression of us to be the Arctic Circle, or worse, Florida.
5 words, You pronounce wrong 2 years before your brain starts shutting down. Dementia is now known as type 3 diabetes, according to the Mayo Clinic, where
Old worlds. Even if it's a little funky, it's hard not to look at the Mercator projection and take it as a given. It's so burned into our minds it can be hard to imagine a world without it. But once there was. Map making, or cartography if you want to be smart about it, has existed much, much longer than this imperfect projection. In The Story of Maps, Lloyd Brown calls cartography the oldest variety of primitive art. And that makes sense. After all, one of the first things early man would have sought to represent was their surroundings. This is the Pavlov map, the earliest known map in history. If you can believe it, this ancient map dates back to 25,000 BCE. Yes, 25,000, meaning it was carved towards the end of the Pleistocene era, also known as the Ice Age. Fittingly, it's carved into the tusk of a woolly mammoth. Found in 1962 amidst the Pavlov Hills in modern-day Chechnya, the tusk features a beautiful and enigmatic carving, which you can see replicated here. That was first theorized to be a map by Masaryk University's Bohuslav Klima. The map was likely used by hunters to depict the surrounding area, so as hard as it is to believe, these beautiful carvings represent what was once Central Europe. Things must have changed a bit since then. Here's Pavlov now. Jumping forward an astonishing 24,400 years, we find the Imago Mundi. Now I know what you're thinking, and no, Imago Mundi isn't the name of the newest Street Fighter character. Oh hey, look at that. The original Street Fighter actually uses a map with an east-west switch. And it forgot New Zealand. Anyway, back to Imago Mundi. It's the name given to the oldest known map of the world, dating all the way back to the ancient city of Babylon in the 6th century BCE. The map depicts Babylon on the bank of the Euphrates, surrounded by 8 circles believed to represent different regions such as Assyria. Around those is a ring representing the ocean, and beyond the ring are 8 triangles representing further regions of the world. It leaves a lot to the imagination, sure, but considering the map was carved over 2,000 years before the first circumnavigation of the globe in 1522, they didn't have much to work with. Jumping forward a few hundred years, we find the Posidonius map, reconstructed here in 1628. Originally created by its namesake Posidonius, who lived between 135 and 51 BCE, the map depicts the known world to Posidonius, including Europe, North Africa, Arabia, and parts of Asia. Even here we can see the world moving on from the idea the world is flat. In fact, Posidonius himself used the position of the star Canopus to theorize the circumference of the Earth was around 24,000 miles. Shockingly close to the actual circumference of 24,901 miles. In fact, around 100 years before Posidonius, the Greek polymath Aristinus theorized the Earth's circumference to be between 24,270 and 25,050 miles, which is a margin of error between 2.4 and 0.8%. Hard to believe we figured this out over 2,000 years ago, and there are still flat earthers out there today. What's in a map? Okay, bear with me here. Let me ask you a question. What is a map? It's harder to answer than you might think. Though most try to depict reality objectively, some are subject to artistry and cultural influence. And with that in mind, a map can take more unconventional forms than you might think. An interesting example of this comes in the form of Australian Aboriginal songlines. These complex songs and dances recount the journeys of mythical creator beings across Australia. The lyrics of the songs refer to various real-world locations and landmarks, which if recited can be used by a knowledgeable person to navigate the land. In visual form, songlines take on a multitude of artistic symbols and patterns that represent these different geographical points. Pretty far removed from the Mercator projection, right? Some songlines can even represent areas of over 2,000 miles. And astonishingly, they were used. Anthropologists have documented individuals successfully navigating hundreds of miles through the unforgiving Australian outback with nothing but a songline to guide them. Jeez, and I still struggle with sat-navs.
While it's difficult to ascertain just how old songlines are, one was recently found to accurately reference 2 bodies of water that dried up over 7,000 years ago in its lyrics.
But songlines aren't the only super unconventional way of mapping. Check out the Native American Catawba map, which is drawn on deerskin. This map doesn't seek to represent geography at all. Instead, each circle represents a different indigenous group in the South Carolina region. Squares, meanwhile, represent Europeans, and the size of each shape the population of the areas. In that way, it's almost like a modern subway map. Instead of geography, the Catawba map is a map of diplomacy mapping out relationships over space. This drawing of a Native American map from 1825 similarly doesn't measure the land in terms of distance, but time, mapping out how long it takes to journey between different places and what could occur along the way. Finally, I'd like to introduce you to these Amasilik carvings. No, these aren't gnarled branches I pulled off a tree, they're maps, if you can believe it. These 3-dimensional wooden carvings are the work of the Tunumet people from back in the 1880s. The wooden carvings are meant to represent the shape and proportional size of the coast of Greenland, which the Tunumet call their home. These maps in particular were carved by a hunter named Kunit in 1885. They're beautiful, but I wouldn't know how to begin reading them. Probably why I'm not an Inuit hunter, huh? YouTube is way more lucrative anyway.
Can you guess if one of these foods makes arthritis pain worse? Is it these tomatoes? Cucumbers? Apples? Bread? I'll give you the answer in just a second. One of these foods contains a sinister protein that once eaten makes its way.
Google Craps. While some maps are incorrect due to honest mistakes, a lack of information, or the difficulties of map making in general, others are a little more nefarious. You see, some maps are wrong on purpose. Dun dun dun! For example, in 1906, explorer Robert Peary collaborated with the San Francisco Call to create this map. You may notice there's an entirely new continent there called Crockerland, which sounds like the most boring theme park ever. Peary claimed to have discovered the landmass and named it after the wealthy banker who happened to be funding his expeditions, George Crocker. Clearly, Peary believed the discovery of a new continent named after his benefactor would open their pockets a little more. Of course, Crockerland is a crock of old baloney. Outside of personal gain, maps can also be censored or edited for political reasons. One such example is this, a map depicting the non-existent nation of Kurdistan. While this might look harmless, posting it could be enough to get you banned on certain social media. According to former censor at Facebook Amin Durkawi, the map was a secret violation of Facebook censorship standards not included in the regular community guidelines. The reason? Well, to abbreviate history, the Kurds make up an ethnic group in the Middle East. After the First World War, they ended up without a country of their own as the former Ottoman Empire negotiated land division with the Brits. This map depicts a theoretical Kurdistan had it been founded, but as that would involve taking away land from Turkey, posting it could land you in hot water. Another huge issue with map accuracy comes when they need to depict disputed territories. One example is that of Kashmir, a region claimed by both India and Pakistan. As neither nation will budge on the claim, mapmakers need to make a decision when it comes to depicting the borders of the region. How do they handle this? Well, Google will change their result depending on who's looking. That's right, Google literally redraws the map. If you view the region from Pakistan, Kashmir appears with a dotted line depicting its disputed nature. If you view the region from India, however, the region is fully within the nation's borders. Even the USA isn't immune to this and has contested boundaries with Canada, the Bahamas, and Cuba, to name a few. Of course, political influence on map making can be just as silly as it is complex. Former Vice President of the United States Dick Cheney got Google Maps to censor his house from their platform, replacing the building with blurry pixels. Thankfully, it's uncensored now if you ever want to pretend you're a bird taking a mid-air dump on it. As it turns out, though, Google Maps frequently blur, edit, or censor areas of their maps on request. The Marcoussis nuclear site in France appears as a group of pixels, as does the Montluçon prison. It can be easy to view maps uncritically as depictions of reality. However, I hope I've demonstrated that at the end of the day, maps are still made by people that are susceptible to bias and political pressure. Either that or France is currently turning their prisoners into atomic super soldiers and is covering up the evidence. Wacky worlds. So we've seen how art, culture, and politics can redraw the world. Sometimes, however, maps are just wrong. Take this Korean world map from 1402, for instance. Yes, this weird blob is supposed to represent the whole world. In the center is an amalgamation of China and India. This nub represents Korea with a mirrored Japan underneath for some reason. Oh, and this over here? This is Africa, with Europe above it. Pretty unrecognizable, right? Well, it's likely just a matter of priorities. When it came to mapping their own land, historically Korea was quite accurate, and beautiful too. Look at this fun 18th century Korean map depicting the different provinces in different colors. Speaking of more artistic maps, this is the Fool's Face map, and it depicts the world as we know it ghoulishly plastered over the face of a jester. It was created sometime after 1587, but by who? Nobody knows. Around the face are various Latin phrases such as the number of fools is infinite and vanity, vanity, all is vanity. This suggests that the map was intended as some kind of satirical statement that either the world itself is foolish or our attempts to understand it are foolish and egotistical. Well, it's at least higher effort than today's political cartoons. The map itself doesn't look too inaccurate for the 16th century either, which is more than I can say for this next one. Take a look. What landmass do you think it's depicting? Some Greek island? Maybe a sideways Jamaica? Madagascar on the wrong side of Africa? Nope. This is actually a map of Baja California, which, if you aren't aware, isn't an island. The reason for this cartoonish cartography comes down to simple laziness. When California was first chartered in 1533 by the Spanish, they didn't actually bother to charter it. They simply arrived, assumed it was an island, and went about their business. Amazingly, this mistake persisted for another 200 years. In fact, California actually takes its name from a Spanish work of fiction about a mythical island named California. It wasn't until the Spanish explorer Juan de Anza decided to literally walk from Arizona to California in 1775 that the world finally caught on. Last but not least, I'd like to share with you this, a map of our square and stationary Earth by Professor Orlando Ferguson in 1893. Now I know what you're thinking. 1893? Isn't that 2,133 years after Eratosthenes proved the Earth is round? First off, congrats on the quick math there. The Greeks posited the world is spherical in 240 BCE, which was information inherited by the Romans, which then spread throughout Europe. Despite popular misconceptions by the early Middle Ages, the belief in a spherical Earth was widespread. So how did we end up with this? Well, Ferguson was a die-hard Christian, and he seemed to think the Bible made it clear the Earth was flat. To make sense of this, he placed the continents in the middle of a mold with the ocean around it inside a large crater of ice. Modern flat earthers, yes, really, seem to believe in a similar setup with the continents in the middle and an expansive plain of ice on the perimeter. Jeez. As for who this multiple thousand-year-long spherical Earth conspiracy benefits, hey, you got me. Maybe the globe industry? Sorry, flat earthers, looks like you'll have to add the Be Amazed YouTube channel to your list of organizations paid off by Big Globe.
Before I go, don't forget to pick up your own Be Amazed map with the link in the description or the QR code on screen, so you can decorate your home with the greatest map in the world.
Man, that was a pretty mind-blowing journey, if you'll forgive the pun. I don't know if I'll ever see the world the same way again. Which map projection messed with your head the most? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.
People are always taking pics of me, but they're sleeping on who the real muse is. Okay, Coco.
It's a sunny day. The gang's all here.
This is a Suja Organic Wellness Shot. What's in it for you? High quality, organic goodness. For next level nutrition with a whole lot of benefits.
Shein It's like Wish, but somehow weirder. From shoes for hamsters to motion-sensing toilet lights and ever-essential burger holders, here are the weirdest products Shein has to offer. Cordless skipping rope. If you're anything like me, you want to get in shape but just haven't found the exercise for you. Weightlifting? Too heavy. Biking? Too pedally. Running? Too runny. Well, thankfully, Shein has a piece of exercise equipment that puts up no resistance whatsoever. The cordless skipping rope for $4. Now, you may be asking yourself, if it's cordless, what exactly are you skipping? Well, I bought some to find out. These things kinda look like nunchucks, don't they? Bet you could do some damage if you thwack someone in the face with one of these. Heck yeah, try messing with me now, neighbor kids. Okay, let's take them for a spin. Well, I'm working up a sweat, but that's just because I'm jumping on the spot. The handles and weights aren't especially heavy, so I really don't get what the so-called skipping rope is adding that I couldn't easily do this without. Did I really just spend $4 to jump on the spot? Wow, we're off to a great start. Snakeskin sock sneakers. Have you ever wished you didn't have to put on socks and sneakers separately? No? Literally never? Well, somehow Shein has the exact product for this non-existent problem. Introducing Cuckoo Basic Snakeskin Sock Sneakers. They're a mouthful and an eyesore. While I may not be able to figure out from the name what fashion void these things are meant to fill, they do have a 4.9 rating, and these stylish ladies seem to like them, all for $22.
Well, let's see what mine look like.
Time for the grand reveal, and dang, that is one ugly piece of footwear. It does kind of look like the shoe is shredding its socky skin though, so it's thematic. They feel cheap too, cheaper than $22, that's for sure, but in a way, aren't they wonderfully tacky? Look at the stupid chain. Alright, let's get my friend to try them on. I got her a size 9, and they seem to fit okay. Am I crazy, or are these things so ugly? They're actually kinda good. I don't know what event I'd wear them to. Nah, time to abort. I can't pull these off. These feet were made for seafood-themed slippers only. If you didn't get that reference, go check out my equally unhinged videos on stuff I've bought from Wish.com. And while you're at it, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. But before you check everything else out, you're gonna want to see what other insanity I found on Shein. Trust me. Teddy Bear Mouse. So now that you've clicked the like, share, and subscribe buttons, can I ask you a question? Did you find the process of clicking your mouse, tapping your screen, or using your track horribly unwhimsical? Would you prefer if navigating a computer were more fun, childish, and way more impractical? Well, take a look at this adorable teddy bear mouse, all for $5. Can't imagine it works well, but we'll see. Thank God for online deliveries. I'd be humiliated buying this in person. Well, here it is. Pretty charming, right? As expected, this thing is made for kids and looks absolutely tiny in my big ol' hands. Maybe an unfair way to judge this thing, but I really feel like I could crush it with a couple medium-strength squeezes. Not great for intense gamer moments. Let's see how it handles, though. Well, it at least connects okay. Oof, clicking with the ears does not feel good. Still, maybe it can navigate my favorite website okay. Please ignore the fact I spelled YouTube wrong. Okay, it's holding up just well enough. The scroll wheel works, it can move the cursor around okay. Look, this thing isn't designed for high-speed gaming and it feels pretty frail, but it gets the job done. Maybe next time Shein can release a vertical teddy bear mouse for kids getting a head start on their repetitive strain injury. Shewee. Alright ladies, never accuse me of chauvinism because this next product is just for you. Have you ever been driving to the mall, the wedding dress factory, or the makeup warehouse? You know, typical lady places, when you're suddenly hit with the urge to use the restroom? I can only imagine how tough that is. Having to pull your pink car that runs on rose petals and fairy dust over to the side of the road to squat and pee behind a bush, potentially ruining your high heels? Okay, so like most terminally online men, I don't know much about women, but I do know they're the target demographic for this next product, the rubber bladder. With this handy little device, you'll be able to stand and pee wherever you please, and all for $2. Let's take a look here. You know, it's only now dawning on me that after you use this device, you're presumably meant to just fold up the urine-soaked rubber and put it back in your bag? Convenient? Yes. Hygienic? No. Oh look, it comes with helpful instructions on how to pee. That's handy. This doesn't feel particularly sturdy. I'm worried about using this without mess. Well, time for a test run. There we go. Check out that nice, healthy stream. I mean, it appears to be working alright, so maybe I was wrong. Gals, let me know in the comments below if this thing seems useful or just super gross.
Whoa, what's this? It's only our brand new fun and frantic trivia card game we've been developing for years. We've packed it full of all our most interesting facts, and whenever another player thinks you're wrong, they can cut you off with a catastrophic nuh-uh. Steal your opponent's cards and risk your own and nuh-uh. And if trivia isn't your strong suit, don't worry. All the questions in nuh-uh are multiple choice, meaning eggheads and non-eggheads alike stand a chance. Crazy game-altering powers like switcheroo, flip-flop, and piggyback add extra layers of strategy, deception, and chaos to the experience. We've toiled playtesting and tweaking nuh-uh for countless hours, and each and every game was its own fun, wacky adventure. Oh, and we've designed and printed it to perfection. Look, that's me on the box over there. So what are you waiting for? Nuh-uh is the perfect stocking stuffer this Christmas. Beat the hordes and click the link in the description or on screen now to order your copy today. And for a limited time, you can get the base game and the Science and Nature expansion pack, adding over 200 more questions for only $25. That's a whopping 25% discount for our quickest, most loyal fans only. Click the link in the description or on screen now to order your copy today. Our stock is limited, so order now while supplies last. Okay, now let's get back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Beer belly bag. If you've ever wondered what the least appealing way to carry your keys is, then allow me to introduce you to Shein's answer, the beer belly fanny pack.
Do it, do it, do it now. Spritz it good. Rub it on your body just like you should. Right now, spritz it good. Roll it on your body, know you secure. My neck, my back, my legs and pits, all that.
Thinking I'm gonna start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly fat.
Here's the most interesting weight loss fact I learned in the last decade. If I'm trying to lose some body fat, what do? I try to eat less food, maybe get steps in during the day, but that's putting the focus on the wrong thing. If I want to succeed, I need to spend more time prioritizing the right things. This is a visual of what 5 pounds.
Yes, this is a real bag. Finally, thin people and non-alcoholics can make everyone sad and uncomfortable when they enter a room too. Let's check it out. Oof. Laid out like this, it looks more like a tumor than a beer belly. Can't say the material feels great, but on the plus side, it doesn't feel disconcertingly fleshy. I'll just pop some of my valuables inside and hey, good to go. Let's try it on. Does it look like a beer belly or does it look like I'm pregnant? Hard to tell. One thing I'll give it, it's roomier than I thought. Could definitely fit a Budweiser in here if you don't mind an icy cold stomach. Still, I would feel a little awkward walking around with this on. I'd recommend just working on a real beer belly instead. It's way more satisfying. Lip plumpener. Alright guys, I've read your comments. Video after video, I hear folks begging me to do a face reveal. I'm here today to tell you, I don't want to. I'm self-conscious. I mean, look how thin and unplump my lips are. Thankfully, Shein were selling this wonderful product, this $5 lip plumper. Is it a fish? Okay, with this I'll fix my face in no time, and the mean girls will never call me lizard lips again.
According to the box, this thing will turn your lips into, different lips? Gotta be honest, it's not selling me. Opening it up reveals this little fishy. The idea is you stuff your lips in here and pump up until you're beautiful. Can't wait to give this thing a smooch. Please hold back your disgust when viewing my best buddy's pre-plumped lips. What's that on his nose, you ask? Why, it's only Shein's $2 nose reshaper. We figured we may as well go the whole 9 yards and fix everything about his face. He said it's kinda hard to breathe like this. Okay, I've gotta be honest. These both feel like total scams. I don't feel like his physiology is being reshaped by either device, and he just looks like an idiot who's out a few bucks. Then again, I don't know what we expected. Shein wasn't about to bankrupt the entire plastic surgery industry with a few pieces of plastic and rubber. Sorry guys, it didn't work for my friends, so this face reveal is postponed.
Bread pillow. Is it just me, or has anyone else ever looked at a beautiful, fresh, soft loaf of bread straight from the oven and wish they could just curl up on it? No? Damn, maybe I'm weird. No, I'm not, because Shein sells this, a gigantic bread loaf pillow. Okay, I have been tricked by food-shaped pillows every single time I've bought them before, but that was Wish.com. So come on, Shein, for $2, don't let me down. Hey, that's actually way more convincing than I was expecting. Well, from the right angle anyway. It's also a pretty lifelike size, which I'm now realizing means it's a little small for a pillow. How well does it blend in bread's natural habitat, though? Wow, look at that. Pretty indistinguishable, I think. Well, it looks more at home on a cutting board than on a bed, at least. Time for the real test, though. No, not taste test. Comfort. This is actually pretty soft, and unlike real bread, it isn't getting crumbs where I sleep. Not a bad pillow, all things considered. I just wish it was real. Triple toothbrush. Do you hate brushing your teeth? Would you do anything to make the chore a little bit faster? Are you 4 years old? If the answer to all 3 of those questions is all yes, then you'll love our next product. The $2 3-headed toothbrush. Apparently, this triple-headed toothbrush exists for efficient cleaning. But I can't imagine how shoving this monstrosity in your mouth could be faster or more efficient than a regular toothbrush. Well, if it seemed like a Frankenbrush from the pictures, it looks even more sinister in person. I think the idea is you're meant to be able to brush the front, backs, and top of your teeth at the same time with this thing, but come on, how much time could that possibly save?
Time to give it a test run. I made my buddy eat a bowl of toffees beforehand to really make sure this thing works. He actually found it kinda hard to know where to put the toothpaste. Well, he said it definitely does feel like he's brushing multiple sides of his teeth at the same time, but maneuvering it around was so awkward. He had to keep adjusting his grip and angle to feel like he was getting anything at all. He also said that inside his mouth the brushes felt a little cheap, but I guess you can't expect much for $2.
Maybe if you're a sniper or surgeon, you can maneuver this thing accurately, but for most people, I'd recommend a standard single-headed toothbrush. Unless you have one tooth, of course. This toothbrush could really get every inch of that. Burger holder. If you're anything like me, you eat a hamburger at least 4 times a week. Unfortunately, I often end up eating it in a way where I end up with 50% of the patty sticking out of 10% of the bun, and sauce absolutely everywhere. It's less of a meal and more of a massacre by the time I'm done. Thankfully, Shein have heard my plight and delivered me this, the burger holder. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Burger holder? Isn't that what you call your hands? Very funny. Still, this product promises to eliminate mess and spillage, so let's try it out. It kinda looks just like a piece of rubber, huh? Don't know what I was expecting. Anyway, I got a burger on the go and done. I know it's plain, but this is for science. Well, look at that, pretty snug fit. Can't say it isn't weirdly satisfying.
Well, no spilling, but then again, this isn't a stacked burger. My friend looks like a bit of a jerk eating a burger this way too. Imagine carrying this thing around with you. Also, just check out the sloppy burger detritus that's pooled at the bottom of the holder.
I'll be sticking with the burger holders I was born with, thank you very much. Shoe warmer. Imagine this. It's a beautiful, sunny day outside. You can't wait to head to the park and catch some beautiful rays. You throw on your shades, get your shoes on, step outside, and immediately run back into the house. Why? Because your shoes are freezing cold. No, this has literally never happened to anyone? Well, don't tell that to the inventor of Shein's electronic shoe warmer. This little device is designed to heat up your shoes so they're nice and warm for the 10 seconds or so most shoes will retain heat while outside. These things look pretty bare bones, huh? Kinda worried they'll blow my shoes up. They feel a little flimsy too. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and keep a close eye on these as they warm up. My shoes aren't that old, but man, the heat is causing a noticeable aroma in the house. Well, after letting them bake for 10 minutes, let's test them out. The shoes are warm, but the electric warmer itself is worryingly hot. I don't think handling the thing is great. The shoes stayed warm for around 10 minutes, which is better than I thought, but they cooled down quick when I stepped outside. I guess if you want to keep your feet warm from the walk to your house to your car, they could be useful. Just don't leave them charging overnight. It'll be pretty embarrassing explaining to the firefighter exactly where the electrical fire originated. Hamster shoes. So guys, you know me. I love my hamster Duber. I'm talking about him all the time in these videos, but one thing I always worry about is his little hamster feet. I mean, they must get tired and sore running around on that wheel all day. That's why I bought him these from Shein. Hamster shoes. Amazing, right? Now Duber will never get his own turd stuck between his toes again. Let's take a look at this thing. Oh, little booties. I actually think they're a bit heavy for a hamster. They're a little big, too. I feel like they'll fall off pretty easily.
It's the summertime savings event at America's Mattress.
Alright guys, time to fess up. I don't actually have a hamster named Duber. I just really wanted an excuse to get this little shoe. On a similar note, check out these little finger hands. What are they for? Why? For scratching cats, of course. Though if you're heartless, you could always put them on a hamster's feet instead of the little shoes. Now you know why I'm not allowed to own pets anymore. Finger sleeves. Hey, do you hate latex gloves? Too impractical covering the whole hand? No? Not an issue even slightly? Well, tough luck, because Shein offers these finger sleeves made specifically for people who hate gloves? I can't figure it out, I'll be honest. Well, when you get a lot in a pack, I'll say that much at least. Let's try these on. They're pretty tight, actually, and don't feel great. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I really can't think of a situation where you'd ever want to use these over a glove. If you can think of any, let me know in the comments down below. And no, they don't work well as a sleeve for a different body part either. Don't ask me how I know, just trust me that you need more circulation down there than these offer. Animal socks. If you could possess the traits of one animal, what would it be? The keen eyesight of an eagle? The discerning nose of a dog? I might go for the laid-back nature of a sloth. Well, this next Shein product might give me the acrobatic prowess of a cat. Take a look at these hairy animal leggings. They really go the extra mile, don't they? Can't tell from the pictures whether they have toe beans or not. First impressions? They look pretty good. They feel pretty soft too, and look at that. They even have toe bean print. I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. Let's try them on properly. Look, it takes someone who's very secure in their masculinity to do this, and I'm not, so I got my friend to do it instead. They don't go very high and are pretty tight, but despite how they look, apparently, they're not actually very itchy. Time to double up and rep them in the snakeskin sock sneakers, double the beast, double the sock. Kind of a snug fit, actually, and the darker socks actually work more with the shoes.
Alright, gotta get her out of these before she starts Googling furry conventions nearby.
Dinosaur decor. Have you ever wanted your home to look like it's falling apart and being invaded by hostile animals? I know I have. Or at least I can have recurring nightmares about that happening. Well, say hello to Shein's horrifying dinosaur wall destruction decoration. Yeah, imagine groggily forgetting you put this up in the middle of the night. Terrifying. Well, let's take a look. It actually doesn't seem very threatening like this. The dinosaur's even got a bit of a limp wrist. While the individual parts aren't heavy, they're also not adhesive. I had my doubts they'd be able to stick to a wall the moment I saw them. As it turns out, I was right. So the only place I got the pieces to stick was on a cork board. But it doesn't really look like the dinosaur is busting through the wall here. The white around the hands and neck don't really work. Still, at least I was able to get the thing up somewhere. How do you think it looks? Head on, it's still kinda neat. Maybe I'm being overly critical. If this thing wanted to be accurate, the raptor would be half as big and covered in feathers. And I wouldn't have bought it off Shein. Snoring strap. How many of you have partners that snore? Or have had partners complain about you snoring? I bet it's a good number of you. I don't have that problem because I sleep alone and have for many years. No, I'm more concerned because I film myself every night and the snoring is unflattering. What? When they make a documentary about my life, they'll be glad they have all this footage. Still, I need to nix the snoring, which is why when Shein showed me this handy anti-snoring head strap for all of $3, I damn near threw my credit card at the screen. Okay, so, yeah, it really does just look like a piece of fabric. It's stretchy, though, and has these little holes so the fabric is more breathable. That's worth a few bucks, right? Well, let's test it out. I feel a bit like Hannibal Lecter with this thing on. Can't say it's super comfortable either. I gotta be honest, this thing might work too well. It's super tight and is definitely restricting airflow. I can't imagine sleeping in this thing would be easy, but hey, if you can't sleep, you can't snore. So I guess this one works? Our first item with the official BMA's seal of approval. Good job, awful head strap. Jaw exerciser. So I've been spending a lot of time online, and I've come to a realization. The reason I can't ever get a date isn't the result of my personality, smell, beliefs, or general demeanor. It's my jawline. I mean, just look at me. Thankfully, Shein has clientele like me in mind with products like this, the Jaw Exerciser. Look at the guys on the advertising. They're total square-jawed chads. I mean, there are no images of them before they use the exerciser, and this guy has a beard, so it's hard to even tell what his jawline is like, but still, if there's even a chance that chewing this rubber will help, I'll do it.
Wow, it really is just a piece of rubber, huh? It feels springy at least. I don't want to put this strange overseas item in my mouth, so let's go back to my unfortunate assistant. My buddy said it's weirdly bitter, and once he got chewing, it was actually pretty tiring and kind of unpleasant. He didn't feel like he was getting a workout so much as he was just eating an overcooked steak. Look, we all know this isn't gonna work, but it might make for a good chew toy for a small dog or a toddler.
On the same kick, I ordered this hand exerciser. Maybe my tiny, skinny little baby wrists are the reason I can't get a date. Plus, it's kind of like a cool robot hand. Unfortunately for me, this never arrived. Probably for the best, I get enough hand exercise already. Motion sensing LED toilet light. Let me know if this situation sounds familiar. It's late at night. You stumble over to the bathroom, whip it out, or use your portable bladder if you can't whip it out, and relieve yourself. Only to realize you've sprayed your entire bathroom with pee once your eyes adjust to the dark. I know it's happened to me plenty of times, but it's better than turning on the bathroom light and blinding myself. So what's the solution? Well, Shein suggests this, the motion-sensing LED toilet light with adjustable coloration. Now I can illuminate my toilet rainbow style. For such a magical product, the box sure is unassuming. Let's see here, this thing promises no more blinding lights making a mess or falling into open toilets. Hands up, guys. How often does that happen to you? Well, let's test this sucker out. If you don't like your products covered in urine, this might not be the product for you. Anyway, time for an install. Huh, that was easy. Not very impressive, is it? I was promised a bright, beautiful toilet. Oh, whoops, I failed the single install instruction. Okay, there we go. Now, not much better, is it? Well, that's a crying shame. I guess I'll have to resort to plan B, wearing night vision goggles to bed so I never miss the toilet again. Sandwich sponge. People in my life are always telling me I need to eat clean. Well, I misunderstood what they meant by that and ordered a very stupid Shein product. No, I didn't get Shein to mail me a sandwich, though I would love that service if any Shein employees are watching. This is actually a sponge. That's right, we've already seen bread you can sleep on. Now it's time to test bread you can scrub with. I actually like this one. Look at that perfect sandwich. Of course, it will start to look like the hoagie from The Simpsons Homer saved for a month after it's used one time. Let's get that process started, shall we? Here we go. Time to defile this club. Hey, it works. I feel kind of bad though. This thing is so clean and beautiful it almost seems like a waste to use it. Also, it's lacking the rough side most sponges have, so it isn't great at removing hardier stains. Phew, all the scrubbing has made me hungry. I wonder if I maybe... Why didn't I try this before I used it to scrub dishes? In the video! Alright, which was your favorite product? Are there any other wacky websites you want to see me review products from? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.